you. Oh my gosh, it's so good to be here. They told me not to go over this line, not to get too close. I'm coming close. Give me the high five. Give me the high five. Give me the high five. High five. Thank you guys so much. Thank you at home. I'm high-fiving you. I am so excited to be here. So excited to be back with Create It Live because this feels for me like it's family. And we've had, some of you have seen the show that we did before. We've had 32,000 people go through the first class I taught here, which was Start Late, Finish Rich, which you're holding a book from. And so I reached out to Chase, who I just really respect and admire, and said, Chase, let's do something totally crazy. Let's launch the Latte Factor before it comes out, not on a television show, but here at Create It Live, and let's create a class on this book, the Latte Factor Mastery Class. So today I'm gonna take you through this book before it comes out in stores and walk you through the life lessons on how you can truly live rich. The subtitle of this book is Why You Don't Have to Be Rich to Live Rich. And I'm going to show you how small wins, small amounts of money, can truly, truly change your life. Because it starts with small wins. So that, even if you're here and you're living paycheck to paycheck. By the way, I'm not putting any of you on the spot, but how many of you know someone who's living paycheck to paycheck? Okay, so 7 out of 10 men, we have one brave gentleman in the audience today. 7 out of 10 men in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. 8 out of 10 women are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm going to go through some of these statistics in a little bit here, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck right now, if you are in student debt, which you're going to learn, like our main character in this book, Zoe Daniels, is in student debt. If you feel like you're drowning, I'm here to tell you today that there's hope. There are truly things that you can do to take charge of your financial life today. I'm going to be giving you, this is not a theory class. This is an action class. Like you've all got pads of paper to take notes with, and you at home can take a lot of notes. I am in the activator business. She said I'm a teacher at heart. It's truly what I love to do. I've been doing this now for 26 years. It is my passion. But I teach to motivate you to action. Because education without action is entertainment. Okay? It won't change your life. Those of you who are we have a small audience here. This is about the audience at home. And so for whatever reason, if you're at work or you're at home or you're at the gym later and you're watching this because you've bought it and you're watching on your iPad or your phone, information's amazing provided you use it. So as I go through the class today, I'm going to be very specific and intentional about what you need to do. All in favor of taking action? Say aye. Aye. This is a good audience. Okay, so I'm going to teach you the first person who taught me to take action. And that is my Grandma Rose Bach. So this is a picture of my Grandma Rose Bach. The first book I ever wrote, Smart Women Finish Rich. That was my first book. 20 years ago it came out. It just came out for its 20-year anniversary edition. It's dedicated to my grandmother. And I did an interview before, if you were watching, with Chase. Chase and I had an amazing hour together. You should go back and watch that. I shared this story, but I'm going to share it again for those of you who weren't there, that I learned about money at a very young age. And I learned about it from my grandmother. So my grandmother came from the generation that was poor, right? It was the Great Depression generation. And she did not have a college education. And at 30, she was living paycheck to paycheck. And both her and my grandfather were really very middle class, probably even lower middle class, in terms of the money they made and the way they lived. And at 30, my grandmother made a decision that ultimately would completely change our family's destiny. And the decision that she made was that she was tired of being poor. So at 30, the way she tells the story, is at 30, on her birthday, she turned to my grandfather, whose name was Jack, and said, Jack, this is not working. Now, when you're the husband and you hear this is not working, that's not a good thing. And he's like, what's not working? She said, in case you haven't noticed, we're poor. And he said, oh, it's not so bad. She's like, no, it's pretty bad. We don't have money in the bank. We're renting. We basically live paycheck to paycheck. There's so much that we can't do. And I'm tired of it. And by the way, maybe some of you right now are tired of this. And she said, I'm tired of it. And my grandfather would said to her, well, what do you want to do about it? And you know what she said? I don't know, but things have to change. And I'm going to go figure it out. So it gives me chills because she started to figure it out. Back in her day, she went to adult education classes. And she started taking classes on money. And she started taking classes on investing. And she told my grandfather, we're going to start saving to invest. And so she started putting 50 cents out of her paycheck and 50 cents from his paycheck, literally in a coffee can in the kitchen. How many of you remember coffee cans? Okay, you do, because it's a pretty young audience, but she had a coffee can in the kitchen. She put the money in the coffee can. In order to save that money, she had to brown bag her lunch. So she worked at Gimbel's department store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and she had to find the money. The latte factors later, we're going to talk about how you find the money. In her case, she brown bagged her lunch. And her friends teased her. They said, oh, come on, come to lunch with us, you're so cheap. She would bring her brown bag to lunch. And they would tease her for it. And she'd say, well, I'm saving to invest. And they'd say, what do you need to save to invest? You're going to have a pension plan someday. She's like, yeah, but it's not going to be enough. And she said, but I don't want to, she hated being in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was cold. She's like, I want to retire to Florida or California someday. And they said, you'll never have enough money to do that. She's like, I'm going to try. So she saves this money, and at the end of the year, she takes it down to a brokerage firm. She walks in the door. She meets with the broker, and the broker looks at her and says, we don't open accounts for women. You need to come back with your husband. Now, there's almost all women in this audience. My grandmother goes, there are 4 brokerage firms on this street. If you don't want my money, I will just go next door. And they said, ma'am, why don't you sit down? And she opens the account. Now, the way the story turns out is that first year, she loses everything she invests, which is amazing because over her lifetime, she becomes a millionaire. But the first year, by getting stock tips, she just makes investments because she still doesn't really know what she's doing. And at the end of the year, she's lost everything. And I go, what did Grandpa say? She said, I didn't tell him. So she goes, at 31, I had to go learn better. You're going to see in a second, I'm going to say, when you know better, you can do better. She said, at 31, I'm still poor. I have to go get better skills, which is, by the way, why you're here. Create It Live, you come to Create It Live to learn new skills that you either may not have or you're just not doing yet. Because a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, probably most of it, you already know you should do it, but you might not be doing it. It's not enough to know it, you got to do it. So she learned how over her lifetime to invest. And over her lifetime, she became a self-made millionaire.